The wind screamed across the frozen forest. Snow fell hard from the dark sky. Trees stood like tall shadows, covered in thick white ice. It was the worst storm the small town had seen in 10 years. Jake Miller pulled his coat tight and pushed through the snow. He had been driving home from the town when his old truck stopped working. Now he was walking back to his cabin, 6 miles away. With only a flashlight and his thick boots, the cold bit his face like needles. His breath turned into fog. He hated the cold, but he had no choice. There was no signal on his phone. No cars. On the road, only snow. And silence. Then something strange happened. A sound, a soft, high cry. Jake stopped. He looked around. The forest was empty. He heard the cry again, weak, almost like a baby animal, but it wasn't a normal sound. It was musical, almost like singing. Sad, slow singing. Jake stepped off the path and into the trees. He followed the sound, moving carefully. His flashlight showed only snow and ice, but the crying grew louder. Then he saw it. Under a low tree, curled up on the ground, was a small figure, a child. Jake's heart raced. "Hey!" he called. "Are you okay?" No answer. He moved closer and dropped to his knees. The child was shaking badly. His skin was pale, too pale, almost clear. His hair was white. His clothes looked strange, not like anything Jake had seen before. And then he saw the tears. They were blue, frozen drops of glowing blue. Ice on the child's cheeks. Jake reached out. The child flinched but did not run. "It's okay, Jake," said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you." The child opened his eyes. Jake gasped. The eyes were not human. They were large and silver like 2 tiny moons. They glowed softly in the dark. Jake stared at the child, confused and scared. But the child looked even more afraid. His lips moved, but no words came. Only a small, sad sound. Jake took off his thick coat and wrapped it around the child. "You're freezing," he said. "Let's get you out of here." The child leaned into him, tired and cold. Jake stood up and carried him in his arms. As he walked back toward the road, the wind grew louder. Snow blew into his face. But Jake held the child close. Suddenly, the trees above him shook. Jake stopped and looked up. Something was flying overhead, a dark shape, fast and silent like a bird, but too big. It moved quickly through the clouds and was gone in seconds. Jake looked around, his heart beating fast. Something was out there. Watching. It took Jake nearly 2 hours to get home. His cabin was small but warm, with a fireplace and old wooden walls. He pushed open the door and carried the child inside. He set him down near the fire and removed the wet coat. The child looked around, scared but curious. Jake made hot soup and brought a blanket. "Can you talk?" Jake asked. The child stared at him and slowly raised his hand and pointed at his own chest. Soft light appeared in his palm. The light formed a picture, a ship crashing through the sky, flames and a forest covered in snow. Jake leaned back, shocked. "You're not from here." "Are you?" The child didn't answer. But the look in his eyes said enough. He was alone. He was scared. And he didn't know how to get home. Jake sighed and looked at the fireplace. "What do I do now?" he whispered. The child lay down on the rug and closed his eyes. He looked peaceful for the first time. Jake stood up and looked out the window. Snow was still falling, but something deep inside him had changed. He couldn't leave this child alone. Alien or not, he needed help. He needed someone to protect him. Jake turned back and whispered, "I don't know where you came from, but I'll keep you safe, I promise." Outside, the storm howled, and far in the sky, above the clouds, something moved again, silent, watching and waiting. The cabin was quiet, only the soft sound of firewood crackling in the fireplace filled the air. Outside, the storm still screamed, but inside, there was calm. Jake sat in a chair, staring at the strange child sleeping on the floor. His name wasn't known. He didn't speak a word. He had no papers, no shoes, and no memory Jake could understand, but somehow, Jake already knew this child was not from Earth. He stood up slowly and walked over. The child was still curled in the thick blanket, breathing softly. Small blue light glowed from under his skin, like stars trapped beneath the surface. "Jake," whispered to himself, "What are you?" Suddenly the child moved. His eyes opened not in fear, but with purpose. He sat up, placed his hand on the floor, and something strange happened. A pattern began to appear, shining blue lines, spreading like frost across the wooden floor. They formed a symbol. A circle, a triangle, and 3 dots. Jake's eyes widened. He had seen this before. 10 years ago, while serving in Alaska with the military, there was a mission. A satellite had picked up strange signals from deep under the ice. When they arrived, the only thing found was that same symbol, carved into a frozen cave wall. The report was sealed. They were told to forget. Jake had never forgotten. He pointed at the symbol. "Where did you see this?" The child tilted his head. He didn't answer. Then he did something even stranger. He reached out and touched Jake's forehead with 2 fingers. Jake gasped. His vision changed. Suddenly, he saw what the child saw, a silver ship crashing through the sky, flames, panic, a voice calling out soft and beautiful, like a song. The child's mother, then, silence, snow, loneliness. Jake stepped back. Shaken. "You're showing me your memories," he said quietly. The child looked down, his shoulders trembling. Tears began to fall again, glowing blue, and hit the wooden floor like drops of starlight. Jake couldn't believe it. This child had a mother out there, somewhere in the stars, and was now lost on Earth, in a place too cold for even humans to survive. He knelt down and placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "You're not alone anymore, okay? I'll help." "You?" The boy blinked slowly and smiled, a tiny, soft smile. "The first one." Jake nodded to himself. "I need answers. And I think I know someone who might help." The next morning, the storm had quieted. The forest was silent again. Covered in a fresh blanket of snow. Jake packed a small bag, food, flashlight, extra gloves. He wrapped the child tightly in winter clothes and lifted him into the truck. The engine coughed but started. For once, luck was on their side. They drove for 2 hours to the edge of town, to an old electronics workshop with a faded sign, Lena's Tech Lab. Jake knocked twice. The door opened. A woman in a gray hoodie stood there, sharp eyes, clever mind. "Jake?" "She," Said, surprised. "Is that a kid? You don't even like kids." Jake didn't smile. "This one's different." Inside, Lena offered them tea. Jake explained everything well, almost everything. He showed her the symbol drawn by the child. She stared at it, her face turning serious. "I've seen this before," she whispered. "On an encrypted file, buried deep in an old military database." Jake leaned forward. "What file?" She tapped her computer. It was labeled Project Eco Frost, something about non-human signals, ice storms, and crashed probes. She paused. "Jake, if this kid is connected to that project, then someone is already looking for him." Jake's hand tightened into a fist. "I'm not letting anyone take him." The child looked around the lab. His fingers touched the old radio equipment. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Static filled the air. The screen on Lena's laptop showed strange symbols, alien letters. "What's happening?" Lena asked, stepping back. The child closed his eyes. A soft hum filled the room. Like a lullaby sung in wind, a bright image appeared on the wall. A tall woman, glowing with silver light, crying and calling out. The child's voice entered their minds, not loud, not in words, but in feelings. "Mother, lost, far." Jake felt a cold chill run down his spine. Lena looked at Jake and whispered, "He's not just lost. He's sending a message." Then, outside the lab window, something moved. A black drone hovered in the air. Red light. Blinking, Jake ran to the window. "We're being watched." He turned back. "We need to move, now." The black drone hovered outside like a hungry insect. Its red light blinked slowly, scanning the room. Inside Lena's lab, the air felt colder. Not because of the snow, but because of fear. Jake stood near the window, breathing heavy. "They found us." Lena quickly shut the blinds and turned off the lights. "That's military tech, high level. This is not a joke, Jake." The alien child Nova stood in the middle of the room, calm and silent. His eyes glowed faintly, watching the window, unafraid. Jake grabbed his bag. "We need to leave." Lena nodded but then paused. Wait, let me take the symbol data with me, and something else. She rushed to her back room and returned with a dusty black box. What's that? Jake asked. Something I shouldn't have, she said. A copy of Project Echo Frost. Jake's eyes narrowed. You kept the file from a top-secret military program? I'm a hacker, not a soldier, she replied. Now let's go. They slipped out the back door into the snow. The drone didn't follow, yet Jake's truck was cold and old, but it started again barely. Nova sat between them, holding the strange black box in his small hands as they drove toward the mountains. Lena plugged her tablet into the box and began scanning the files. Her face turned pale. This is bigger than I thought, she whispered. Jake kept his eyes on the road. Talk to me. 10 years ago, there were signals from deep under the Arctic ice. Not from Earth. They said the signals were natural echoes of frozen caves. Jake frowned. But they weren't. No, they came from a ship. A living ship. The military called it Echo Frost. They tried to bring it up, but something went wrong. Everyone on the mission died. Jake clenched the wheel. I remember that mission, he said. They told us it was just weather. We never saw the bodies. Lena turned her screen toward him. Nova's symbol appeared, glowing on the display. Jake looked back at the child. That was your ship, wasn't it? Nova didn't speak, but he slowly nodded. Lena continued. And this child wasn't just a passenger. The file calls him a signal corps. Jake looked confused. What does that mean? It means he's the heart of the ship. He can speak to it, control it. The truck suddenly shook. A dark shadow crossed the road. Ahead fast and low. Jake hit the brakes. A black SUV blocked the road. 3 men in cold weather armor stepped out, holding weapons. They found us again. Lena yelled. Jake turned the truck off the road into the snowy trees. Branches hit the windows as they raced into the forest. Gunshots cracked behind them, but none hit the truck. Nova sat still, eyes closed, breathing slowly. Jake turned to him. Kid, if you can do anything, now's the time. Nova opened his eyes. They glowed bright silver. Then a strange sound filled the air. Like glass singing. Like wind speaking, the snow around them began to move. Not just blow, but rise. It spun into a thick white wall behind the truck, blocking the road completely. Jake looked in the mirror. Did he just make a snowstorm? Lena stared. I think, He talks to the ice. After an hour of off-road driving, they reached an old military bunker forgotten, buried under years of snow and ice. Jake had been here once during his army days. Now it was nothing but rust and silence. They went inside, using a hidden code. Jake remembered. The metal door groaned open. Inside, the air was dry and cold. Broken lights, empty halls. Echoes of the past. Nova walked ahead. His hand glowed softly, and wherever he touched, the lights flickered on, deeper in the bunker. They found a large metal wall with the same alien symbol carved into it. Nova stepped forward. The wall responded, opening slowly. Behind it was a hidden room, untouched by time. Inside, strange alien machines stood in silence. Blue glass, silver metal, glowing orbs. Nova walked to the center and placed his hand on a round platform. The room came to life. Lights, movement, a voice soft and distant began to speak in an alien language. Then a clear picture appeared in the air, a star map. And at the edge of the map, floating alone, was an image of a woman. Tall, silver-skinned, crying. Jake stared. That's her, he whispered. That's his mother. Nova turned to them. His voice was soft but clear. Help me find her. Jake placed a hand on his shoulder. We will. But Lena was still staring at the map, and she saw something no one else had noticed. Another signal, moving fast. Coming toward Earth. Not friendly. Not alone. The silence in the hidden bunker felt heavy. The star map hovered in the air, still glowing. Nova's mother looked back at them, not moving, but her face full of sorrow. But Lena wasn't looking at her anymore. She was staring at the red dot blinking in the corner of the map. Moving fast. Coming closer. That's not good, she whispered. Jake looked. Another ship? Lena nodded. Yes, bigger and Not from Nova's people. Suddenly, the map blinked out. The lights in the room flickered. Nova stepped back, his silver eyes wide with fear. A sound echoed through the bunker. Deep and mechanical. Like metal dragging on metal. Jake grabbed Lena's arm. We have to leave, now. They rushed out of the hidden room back into the bunker's main hall. Nova followed quietly, but he kept looking over his shoulder. Outside, the wind had stopped. But the snow was too still. Like the world was holding its breath. Jake pushed open the bunker door. A strange shadow stood at the tree line. Tall, thin, not human. It didn't move, just stared. Then it turned and vanished into the trees. Jake's voice was tight. Something's out there. Lena pulled out her scanner. That thing was not in any human database. Jake helped Nova into the truck, and Lena climbed in beside him. The engine groaned but started. Jake slammed the gas. They raced through the frozen valley, tires skidding over thick snow. The sun was setting behind the mountains. Long shadows stretched across the land. Nova sat quietly in the middle seat, eyes closed. His small hands glowed faintly. Suddenly, the truck jolted. Something hit them from behind. Jake spun the wheel, trying to stay on the narrow path. A dark flying object circled above, not a drone this time. It was alive, long black wings, red eyes glowing like fire. A creature made of ice and metal. Lena yelled, "That's not from Earth!" The creature opened its mouth and fired a blast of cold wind. The back window shattered. Nova raised his hand. A silver shield appeared behind the truck, blocking the second blast. Jake shouted, "Kid, you got any more of that magic?" Nova didn't answer. He looked drained. Jake pushed the truck harder. Ahead, the road split, one side toward the valley. Cliffs, the other deeper into the woods. Jake took the cliff road. "Are you crazy?" Lena shouted, "That's a dead end." "Exactly," Jake said. "Let's give it a surprise." At the edge of the cliff, Jake stopped the truck hard. The tires skidded. Snow flew. The truck balanced just inches from the edge. Jake turned to Lena. "Drive if I don't come back. What are you doing?" She said. Jake grabbed a flare gun from under the seat. He stepped out. The creature landed on the snow behind them, screeching. Its wings spread wide, sharp like knives. Jake lit the flare. The red light glowed in the stormy sky. The creature roared and ran at him. Just before it struck, Jake aimed the flare at its open mouth and fired. Boom. The flare exploded inside the creature's head. It screamed and fell back, rolling down the cliffside in flames. Jake ran back to the truck, jumped in, and hit reverse. They sped away. 30 minutes later, they stopped deep in the woods. Everyone was quiet. Jake's hands were shaking. What was that thing? Lena pulled out the scanner. It was half machine, but alive, like it was made to hunt. Jake looked at Nova. The child looked weak, his glow dim. "He protected us again," Jake said. "But he's losing strength." Nova opened his eyes. He pointed to the sky. Then, for the first time, he spoke aloud. "Home? Calling." Jake and Lena froze. The boy spoke perfect English, though his voice was soft and echoing. "Signal sent. They come," Jake whispered. "Your people?" Nova nodded once. "But so do others?" The sky above them rumbled with thunder, though no storm was near. Nova looked at Jake, then at Lena. "More hunters will follow." He touched Jake's hand. A new vision appeared. Inside Jake's mind, he saw Earth from space, and many ships heading toward it. Some were beautiful. Others were full of darkness. Nova's voice echoed inside Jake's head. "Only one can reach her. My mother, the rest will destroy everything." Jake breathed slowly. "Then we'll get you there first." He looked at Lena. "Any idea how far that mountain from the star map was?" She opened the device. "A day's drive, maybe less." Jake turned the key. "Then we move before the night brings more monsters." Nova looked out the window as they drove. Far above, the sky shimmered with faint blue light, like a signal sent across the stars, still waiting for an answer. The road was silent. Jake's truck moved slowly through the snowy path, tires crunching the frozen ground. Trees stood tall on both sides, like guards watching every move. The sky above was gray, but calm. Too calm. Inside the truck, Nova sat between Jake and Lena. His silver eyes were half closed, his body still weak. But his hand gripped something. Tightly, a glowing crystal, pulsing like a heartbeat. Lena looked at it. "What is that?" Nova whispered. "It's a memory." Jake glanced over. "Yours?" Nova nodded. "My mother gave it to me before the crash. It remembers her ... her voice, her face, everything." Jake's hands tightened on the wheel. "Then we keep it safe." Lena looked at the map on her tablet. "The mountain's close. Another hour, maybe. The top of the peak is the only place. Her ship can land." Jake nodded. "We'll get there." But he didn't notice the dark shadow waiting ahead. They reached an old steel bridge over a frozen river. As the truck crossed, a loud sound echoed, clanged. Jake hit the brakes. In the middle of the bridge stood a man, tall, in full black combat gear. His helmet reflected the sky. Jake's eyes narrowed. "No. It can't be." The man removed his helmet, sharp jaw. "Cold eyes." Lena whispered. "Who is that?" Jake's voice was tight. "Commander Reyes." Reyes stepped forward slowly. "It's been a long time, Miller," he said. Jake got out of the truck. "What are you doing here?" Reyes looked at Nova, following the signal, "just like you." Lena stepped out too, standing beside Jake. "You're not taking him," she said. Reyes smirked. "Still brave, Lena, but this child isn't a kid. He's a weapon. You saw the reports. Echo Frost wasn't just a crash, it was a test, a warning." Jake's voice was sharp. "He's not a threat. He's just trying to get home." Reyes shook his head. "You don't understand. You never did. The boy may not mean harm, but others like him are coming, and Earth isn't ready." He pointed to Nova. "Let us study him. Control the power before the wrong hands do." Nova looked at Reyes and stepped back. His crystal glowed brighter. Suddenly, the bridge shook. A memory flashed in Jake's mind, not his own. Nova was showing him something. A lab. White lights, cold walls. Small alien. Children behind glass, scared, crying. And Reyes standing above them. Jake gasped. "You already had others." "Didn't you?" he said. Reyes' eyes darkened. "We tried to protect Earth. You wouldn't understand," Nova whispered. "He hurt them." Jake stepped forward. "You tortured them." Reyes raised his weapon. "Don't make this harder." Lena raised her hands. "We don't want to fight." But Nova stepped between them. "I do." His eyes glowed. Wind picked up, snow swirling around his feet, but then, bang. A shot rang out. Lena screamed. Nova fell to his knees. Jake turned, heart racing. Lena had been hit, blood on her arm. She dropped to the ground. Nova crawled to her, his hand shaking. "Don't," he whispered. Reyes froze for a second. Even he hadn't meant to hit her. Nova touched Lena's wound. Blue light covered the cut, and the bleeding stopped. She gasped, breathing again. Jake stared. Nova looked up, eyes full of pain and fire. "I am not your weapon." The ground rumbled beneath them. The crystal in Nova's hand floated into the air. It flashed, once, twice, and a beam of light shot straight into the sky. Reyes stepped back. "What did he do?" Lena whispered. "He sent the final signal." Jake grabbed Nova. "We have to go. Now." Reyes didn't follow. He stood still, watching the sky. In the distance, thunder rolled. And the clouds above the mountain began to shift, glowing faintly with silver and gold. Lena stood weakly. "They're coming." Jake nodded. "But so are the others," Nova whispered. Reyes turned back to them. "If you want to save him, you better move fast." Jake looked at him in shock. "Why are you helping us now?" Reyes didn't answer. He just looked up at the glowing sky and whispered, "Because I saw." "What's coming?" He turned and walked back into the forest, disappearing into the white. Jake helped Lena into the truck. Nova sat beside her, holding her hand. No more words were needed. They had one mission left: reach the mountain. Find Nova's mother, and stop the storm that was about to fall from the stars. The sky had changed. Silver clouds swirled over the mountains, like giant waves in the air. The light had a strange glow, soft yet powerful, like something holy was about to arrive. Or something terrible. Jake's truck roared up the snowy path, engine growling as it climbed higher. The tires slid over ice in sharp turns. But he didn't stop. They were running out of time. Lena sat in the passenger seat, pale and silent. Her arm was wrapped in a cloth, her eyes fixed on the sky. Nova sat in the back. His face was calm, but his hands were glowing brighter with every mile. The crystal floated quietly beside him, spinning in the air like a compass pointing to his home. Jake looked at Nova through the mirror. "How much farther?" Nova pointed up. "To the peak." "The signal ends there," Jake gritted his teeth. "Then that's where we finish this." At the top of the mountain there was nothing but snow and wind. No trees, no shelter. Just white ground and sky. Jake parked the truck and stepped out. The wind hit his face hard, cold, wild. He helped Lena out carefully, her steps weak but steady. Nova followed, standing still at the edge of the cliff. Looking at the sky, the crystal rose higher and shone like a star. Lena whispered, "They're close. I can feel it." But Nova didn't smile. He whispered, "So are the others." A loud sound echoed across the air, a hum, deep and shaking. Then from the clouds, a silver ship appeared. It didn't roar like human machines. It sang a low, beautiful sound that made the snow around them shimmer. The ship was smooth, round, and glowing, alive, not built. Jake stepped closer to Nova. "Is that her?" Nova nodded. His eyes filled with tears. "She came." The ship hovered above them, opening slowly like a blooming flower. But just before Nova could move forward, a roar split the air behind them. They turned. A dark ship shot through the clouds like a bullet, sharp, black, and burning with red light. It didn't sing. It screamed. The good ship shook. "Nova's mother's ship." Jake yelled, "Get down." The enemy ship fired a blast of energy. The snow exploded near them. The cliff cracked and Nova stood up, glowing now from head to toe. His eyes turned silver white. "I won't let them take her." From the dark ship, creatures dropped, part machine, part flesh, tall, cold, hunters. They moved fast. Jake fired his old rifle, hitting one in the chest. It fell but didn't die. Lena used a broken tech device to blind another with sparks, but there were too many. One of them leaped at Nova. He raised his hand. A wave of light exploded from his chest. The creature froze mid-air, trapped in a block of glowing ice, but using his power was costing him. Nova fell to one knee, breathing hard. Jake rushed to him. "Stay with me, kid," Nova whispered. "I must go to her before they break the sky." Jake looked up. The enemy ship was charging a new weapon, one more blast, and Nova's mother's ship would fall. Jake made a decision. He grabbed the glowing crystal and handed it to Nova. "Go, I'll hold them here." Nova shook his head. "No, you're my family now." Jake looked him in the eyes. "Then trust me." Nova ran toward the edge of the cliff. The silver ship opened wide, and a beam of light pulled him up, floating, glowing, like a star returning home. Just as he rose, the dark ship fired again. Jake stood in front of the blast. Everything turned white. Time slowed. Inside the silver ship, Nova screamed. The beam around him broke. He dropped, falling like a comet back toward Earth. But before he hit the ground, she caught him. A tall, silver-skinned woman stepped out of the light. His mother. Her arms wrapped around him. Nova cried, "I found you." She whispered in a language full of music, and the crystal in his hand turned gold. Then she looked at the dark ship and raised her hand. Her eyes glowed brighter than the sun. A beam of energy shot from her palm, slicing through the dark ship's core. The sky exploded in light. The enemy ship burned, and the sky was quiet again. Minutes later, snow began to fall, soft and slow. Jake opened his eyes. He was still alive, covered in white light. Nova stood over him, holding his hand. "You came back," Jake whispered. Nova smiled. "I never left." His mother walked over, her steps quiet but strong. She knelt beside Jake and bowed her head. Jake looked at Nova. "You're safe now." Nova held up the crystal, now glowing with the soft color of sunrise. "You saved my world." The sky was no longer angry. The dark clouds were gone. The silver ship floated gently above the mountain, glowing softly, like a moon. Snow fell lightly, not cold anymore, but peaceful, like the world was breathing again. Jake sat on a rock, watching the horizon. His jacket was torn, his face was tired. But he was alive. Behind him, Lena stood with one arm in a sling. She smiled quietly as she looked at the silver ship. "You okay?" she asked. Jake nodded. "Yeah, just taking it in." Down the slope, Nova walked slowly toward him, hand in hand with his mother. She was tall and graceful, her skin shining with soft light. Her eyes held the sadness of many lifetimes, but also a warmth that made the snow melt wherever she stepped. Jake stood. Up as they reached him. Nova smiled, holding out the glowing crystal. "It's complete now," he said softly. "It remembers everything." Jake took the crystal in his hands. It felt warm, almost alive. Nova looked up at him. "It remembers you too." Jake's throat tightened. "You sure you have to go?" Nova didn't answer at first. He looked at his mother, then back at Jake. "My people will need to know what happened," he said. "And she needs me," Jake nodded slowly. "I understand." Nova hugged him, tightly, not like a stranger. "Not like a visitor, but like a son. You are my family," Nova whispered. "Even far away." "I will remember." Jake held him close. "Me too, kid, always." The ship opened again. A soft light poured down like a ladder made of stars. Nova and his mother stepped into it. Side by side. The moment they entered, the ship changed. It lit up with color, gold, blue, silver, all dancing like water under sunlight. Lena stood next to Jake, watching. "You ever think you'd see something like this?" she whispered. Jake shook his head. "Never, but I'm glad I did." As the ship rose higher, Nova placed his hand against the glass-like wall, staring down at them. Jake raised his hand, mirroring him. For a moment nothing else mattered. Not the past, not the danger. Just that silent goodbye. Between two souls from different worlds, the ship rose higher into the sky, above the clouds. Beyond the stars. And then it was gone. A single light streaked across the sky, like a shooting star. Heading home. Jake stood still for a long time, snow gathering on his shoulders. Lena placed a hand on his back. "You did good," he smiled softly. He did better. Days passed. Then weeks. The snow melted. Spring came to the mountains. The world moved on, not knowing how close it had come to falling, but Jake remembered. Every morning he stood outside his cabin, looking at the sky. Sometimes he would talk out loud, not to himself, but to someone far away. "Hope you're okay up there," he would say. "I hope you're flying." He never got an answer, until one night. The wind was calm, the stars were clear. Jake sat on his porch, sipping coffee, staring at the night. Then something lit up the sky. Not a plane, not a comet. A small round object floated gently down, glowing gold. It landed softly in front of him. Jake stepped forward and picked it up. It was the crystal. But different. Brighter. And inside it, moving like a memory trapped in light. Nova. Laughing. Flying. Smiling. Then a message appeared in soft, glowing letters. "We will come back for you." Jake smiled, and for the first time in a long while, his eyes filled with tears. Not from pain, but from hope.